that had taken the lives of the rest of his tribe, the shelter of his cave offering him the cruel protection that had pointlessly prolonged his life. He died oblivious to how special he would become. Many millennia later, when his remains were found, no one would know that he had indeed been the last of his kind to survive in northern Eurasia. And yet, by one of those rare twists of fate, he was also the first of his kind to be identified by the Homo sapiens scholars who studied his bones. They named him Fellhofer I, or Neanderthal I, and many of them would ponder what had caused so many of his species to disappear so suddenly. Part 1. Magnetosphere. Chapter 1. Saturday, 22nd of October, 2039, outside Fairbanks, Alaska. Brad Grachowiak was looking forward to spending some holiday time with Laura and the kids. First, though, he was looking forward to the end of this particular drive, to unloading and hitting the sack at the Holiday Inn Express. To be fair, the regular 350-mile route north from Anchorage to Fairbanks wasn't so bad, even in late October, as long as the weather stayed clear. The night had been uneventful, and he'd less than an hour of his journey to go. Behind him, almost bumper to bumper, were 6 other giant trucks, identical to his own, apart from their lack of a human occupant. Instead, all were linked via their autonomous AI systems. Although Brad had not had to do anything the entire journey, he knew the trucking company felt reassured, having a human in the lead vehicle ready to take over manual control if necessary. After all, there was always the chance that severe weather could close in unexpectedly, particularly at this time of year. While this was an unnecessary regulation, the truck's AI system could see far better than he ever could in bad weather and poor light. Brad wasn't complaining. It kept him in work. In the 12 years he'd been working for the company, he had yet to intervene on any journey. He stretched his arms out, arching his back to loosen the stiffness. Then, giving the stubble on his head a vigorous rub, he leaned forward and touched the windscreen, where the movie he'd only half been paying attention to faded away, and the glass reverted to its natural transparency, allowing him to take in the landscape outside. It was already late morning, but the sky was only just showing signs of changing colour, heralding the start of a new day. As the sky brightened, the blackness of the snowy landscape on either side of the road turned a deep blue, contrasting spectacularly with the fiery red band of light spreading across the peaks of the mountain range far to the west. Brad had witnessed this Alaskan alpenglow all his life, and it never failed to take his breath away. This had always been his favourite time of day, just before the sun spilled its first rays over the opposite horizon. It was only once the sun had dragged itself up into view, flooding the world with its winter light, that a tiny detail of colour caught his attention. Against the backdrop of dazzling white snow, a smudge of orange and black stood out. At first, Brad thought this was another vehicle far ahead on the road, or possibly a brightly coloured building in the distance, but then realised that it was a smear on the windscreen, most likely an insect that had, thanks to the unforgiving law of conservation of momentum, come off worse in its head-on collision with an object 100 million times its mass. In itself, the fate of one bug wouldn't have registered on Brad's consciousness, but he soon noticed there were marks of several more suicidal insects all over the windscreen. He surprised himself by recognizing what they were. Monarch butterflies. Last spring, he'd helped his